everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name is Amanda. Today I've got 3 easy and delicious breakfast recipes for you. This video is a collaboration hosted by Bethany at Budget Bethany. Make sure to check out her channel and all of the other videos in the collaboration. I'll have the playlist linked below. So let's get to it. First, we're going to start with sausage muffins with cheese. So I've got a bowl here where I'm going to place my dry ingredients into it. So that's 2 cups of flour is going in there. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of baking powder. Now the recipe also calls for a half a teaspoon of salt, but I decided to leave that out since the rest of the ingredients were pretty salty. And also a tablespoon of pure maple syrup or sugar. I also left that out because one time I made biscuits with sugar and I did not care for the taste. So we made these completely savory with no sugar at all. So I'm just getting these dry ingredients incorporated, and then I'm going to add the already cooked sausage I have to the side there in with the flour and baking powder. I'm also going to add in a cup of cheese. Now I will say the recipe calls for 2 cups of cheese. It talks about 1 cup on top of the muffins and 1 cup in the muffins. So next time, I actually didn't use the cheese on top of the muffins, but next time I think I'm going to add a little more cheese. These were so good, but I think they'd be even better with just a little more cheese. So I've got that cheese in there, and I'm just going to stir that all together and get it well combined. And then I'm going to begin my wet ingredients that are going to mix in with this so that we can get the dough ready to scoop out into a muffin tin. I actually didn't end up greasing my muffin tin, and it ended up working fine. So just as long as you use a non-stick, you should be good there. So I'm putting a cup of milk into this bowl, and then I'm going to add 1 egg. And I'm just going to whisk those 2 things together and get them good and combined, and then add that back into those dry ingredients with the sausage and cheese. Now this recipe was new to us. We'd never had it before, but we really enjoyed it. And we talked about how they'd almost be close to like the Red Lobster biscuits. I've never made those either. If y'all have and you have a good recipe for a copycat Red Lobster biscuit, leave it for me in the comments because I'd really like to check that out. So I've got this, combining. I'm going to get this all ready and blend it together well. Just make sure there's no dry spots or anything like that. Make sure everything's coated good. And then I'm actually going to get a cookie scooper or ice cream scooper. I guess I use them for cookies, but it's an ice cream scoop that I'm just going to use to scoop these into the muffin tins. And like I said, I didn't grease these because of I knew that, with sausage having grease in it, cheese kind of more of an oily texture. I thought it would be okay. So I kind of took a chance here, and it actually was fine. They came right out of the pan and didn't leave any residue or anything like that. So they were great. So here I have them ready to go into the oven, and they actually cook in a 400-degree oven for 18 to 20 minutes. I believe mine were in there probably more on the 19 to 20 minutes side. And these were, like I said, so very good. They were almost like a sausage ball, but like less greasy, and they were, more kind of had that biscuity taste to them. So we really love these. These would be great for Christmas morning, for any kind of breakfast that you want to do. Great for meal prepping breakfast as well. And we just really liked them. You could serve them maybe with some cut up fruit and that type of thing, and have them for a quick breakfast. And these would be easy to take with you, eat in the car, whatever you need them for there. So highly recommend this recipe. It was excellent. So next we have the baked blueberry lemon French toast. This was also a new recipe. So I will say right here, since I didn't do it, I would recommend you butter or grease this pan. I did have some problems with it sticking, not horribly so or anything, but just somewhat. So I've got a dozen Hawaiian rolls, or a whole package, that I've kind of chunked up into little chunks. I'm now putting some blueberries on there. The recipe called for a cup of blueberries. That wasn't enough. You'll see me add a little more later. And then I actually cubed up a whole bar of cream cheese and layered that in there. The website, there were some reviews that really mentioned the cream cheese being added in there. That was not in the original recipe. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I would have liked it as much if the cream cheese hadn't been in there. So I highly recommend that. So you're just kind of layering these ingredients and getting that second layer of bread in there, and you're going to top it with some more of the blueberries and more of the cream cheese. Now, like I said, I kind of thought when I got this done, I thought that's not enough blueberries, so this actually sits in the refrigerator so that it can soak up all the liquid, because we're going to put a liquid mixture here in a minute with it. And since it, sat for a little bit, I thought, well, before I put it in the oven, I'm going to add some more blueberries, and I did. So, and I did not regret that choice. So I've got 3 eggs here in a measuring cup, a large measuring cup, and I'm going to add a cup of milk. Now the recipe called for 1.5 cups of milk, but I don't like a really custardy type French toast bake, so I cut back on the milk. So feel free to adjust it as you need. And this is the lemon zest of one lemon, and that I'm adding in here. And that really did not impart much lemon flavor. So if you really want a lemon flavor, maybe use more zest. I think I read in the comments someone used lemon extract or something like that. I didn't have any, so I wasn't able to use that, but that might be good as well. Now I'm going to add in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. This was, I believe, like a half a teaspoon measure. I'm trying to think, so that's why I put 3 in there. And then I'm going to add in a teaspoon of ground cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of ground nutmeg, and just mix this all together with some syrup. It called for maple syrup. I did not have any of that, so I went ahead and used just pancake syrup. So it might even be even better with the maple syrup. I just didn't have any on hand, and this seemed to work just fine. So you're going to thoroughly mix that together and then pour it over the bread and cream cheese and blueberries mixture. Just try to get it as even as you can so that it kind of hits, most of the bread. Once you get all the liquid mixture poured onto the pan, then you just need to cover it with some saran wrap or foil or whatever, and you're going to place it in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours, but you can place it in there overnight if you like. So now we're actually getting ready to make the crumble topping. This will go on top right before you bake it. So you can either make it and sit it aside, maybe keep it in the refrigerator to keep the butter cold, or you can just wait and make it right before you're going to put it in the oven, which is what I did. So I've got 1/4 cup of flour in that bowl, and then I'm adding 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar, 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and then I'm going to mix that together. And it also called for 2 tablespoons of confectioner's sugar, which I just now realized I left out. So I don't think it would have made a huge difference. So make sure to add that in when you try this recipe. And then you're just going to cut in 1/4 cup of unsalted butter that's cut into cubes until it's kind of into crumbles, and get it ready to put on top of that casserole. So I'm just making sure it's all good and all the butter's coated and everything, and we're going to unwrap the French toast and then start putting on our crumble topping. And I will say that topping was really good. I liked it. Oh yeah, and here's where I add a little more blueberries, because it really wasn't enough. So if you like blueberries, I really would encourage you probably to add a little more, because 1 cup just didn't go very far in this recipe. So, and I use frozen, so frozen works fine in this. I didn't have any fresh on hand, so they worked really well as well. So I'm just putting this crumble topping on top of there. This is going to bake in the oven at 350 degrees for about 35 to 45 minutes, or until golden brown. We really enjoyed this recipe. It was really good. I think I mentioned it earlier, I did not think it was overly sweet, which was kind of nice. So if you wanted it a little more sweet, you could add, maybe if you had some blueberry syrup, that would be really good with it, or something like that, or some fresh maple syrup. But we really enjoyed this, and even better, you can make it the night before and pull it out the morning to bake. So that makes it such a handy breakfast to have on hand for sure. Definitely recommend this recipe as well. So far this time I tried 2 new recipes and was very pleased with them. So this next step, we're doing homemade Egg McMuffins. Now I've got 6 English muffins on this pan, buttered. I'm going to actually broil them under the broiler. That is such a huge time saver. I used to do them in the pan, 2 at a time, or I would do the lid and the top and the bottom, to get at one time, and it took forever. So this highly recommend broiling those. Turns out perfect. So I've just got a couple of eggs. I do these a couple at a time when I fry them. I wait for them to get kind of like the whites a little set, and then I actually kind of cut them in half with a spatula so that I can flip each one of them. I'm not brave enough to try to flip 2 eggs at one time. I'm sure some people can really do that well, but I am not that talented. So, and usually I have a little difficulty getting it on the spatula, just like I am now. So, but once I get those on the spatula, I just flip them over, and then I actually place a little bit of water in the pan, and then I cover it with a lid so that I can kind of almost steam these to where I like them to be. I've never timed it, so I just kind of, sometimes I'll check them and see, you know, is it looking done? You can kind of mash on the yellow part and kind of see, is it still, you know, a little runny, or, you know, what kind of consistency is it? And so I just do that until they're to my liking, and then that, you know, works great for me. And I did all 6 of the eggs that way. Like I said, this turned out perfect. I'm just so impressed with doing them in the broiler. It was totally just a game changer for me, for sure. So definitely recommend doing that to get all of them toasted quickly. And so these eggs are done. I'm going to remove them and put them on a plate with a napkin, just so that it drains off any of that extra water, because you definitely don't want waterlogged English muffins. And then I'm going to take each of the eggs and place them on the English muffins and get started on the next part of it, where I'm going to do the ham and the cheese. So this goes pretty quickly. The eggs don't take very long to cook, and then you know, I get 6 done pretty fast because I do 2 at a time. And then usually I'll have the ham and the cheese going in another skillet as well. That's what I usually do, that way that I can kind of get it all ready at one time. So I just take 1 slice of ham, I kind of heat it on one side, and then I heat it on the other. Then when I flip it there, I'm going to place the cheese on top so that the cheese can kind of get melty, and then I transfer those over to each English muffin. I really like doing it this way because I don't know, the ham heated, it kind of brings out a different flavor in it to me than just putting it on there cold. So I really enjoy kind of heating it up before, you know, before I put them on there. So I've got almost all of them done here. I'm fixing to get them all done. These are great to kind of meal prep for breakfast. You can make a bunch of them. Now, I have never frozen them, but you can definitely, I've seen many people do that, so you can definitely freeze them. You can also just prep up a bunch and eat through the week. I like to heat them in the oven. I don't like to heat them in the microwave because the oven kind of helps them retain some of that crispiness. So we love these. We make them all the time. I don't really have a recipe written out for them, but it's really just kind of a method more so. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more recipes like this, and don't forget to check out that playlist for lots more breakfast ideas. Have a great day. Thanks.